in Sonoma, California. We want to welcome everyone to this very special evening as we taste 7 of Cline's wines with Megan Cline, daughter of Fred and Nancy Cline, and Tom Grendall, Cline's new head winemaker. Just a little bit of background. Fred and Nancy Cline met at UC Davis in the early 80s and started making their first vintages together. Fred was influenced by his grandfather. I always have trouble with his first name, Valeriano Jacuzzi.
Perfect.
And if you're wondering about the name, you're right. His family created the first whirlpool bath. Pretty cool. In 1989, the Clines purchased a 350-acre horse farm in Carneros and moved the winery to Sonoma County. They began planting Rhone varietals and quickly added Cabernet, Pinot Noir, Merlot, and Chardonnay. We fast forward to today, they own about 1,500 acres in 3 counties, with about half planted with vineyards, which are all certified sustainable by the Sonoma County and the California Wine Institute. Now, to get us in the California mindset, since we've been in our homes for so long, I want you to enjoy this short 50-second video just to get a visual sense of where these wines we're tasting tonight come from. Well, thank you, Aaron. I don't know about you, but that makes me want to go there like tomorrow. So let's get started. So in front of you, you'll have 2 order forms. You have the option of ordering the Gust wines using the private ordering form by simply indicating how many 6-bottle cases you want and signing both LCBO pages. This is a very antiquated system from the LCBO, and but one that we're happy to work within. The second page of the LCBO order is a lab waiver, which releases the LCBO from testing the wines. I have a feeling, though, that they're pretty safe, so I don't think we have to worry about that. The first order page can be used for your credit card information, and once signed, can accompany the private order and be sent back to me. We'll have a window of about 10 days to collect the orders, so please send these back as soon as possible. You can either scan or email them and or send along in the mail. You may also choose to order the 3 wines from Cline that are currently in Ontario, those being the Cline Pinot, Syrah, and Cabernet. If by chance you are only interested in these wines, you can dispense with the paperwork altogether, and you can just simply order these wines from my website at vintagetrade.com. A new mix pack of these 3 wines in Ontario will be available tomorrow on my website. This 6-bottle case will contain 2 bottles each of the Cline Pinot, Syrah, and Cabernet. And lastly, please use the chat function tonight to ask your questions. You have the option of chatting to Aaron directly. If you're all experienced Zoom users, you'll know this, that you can chat Aaron directly, or if you chat openly, everyone will see your questions, and that's more than fine too. Either way, Aaron will be passing along your questions to Megan and Tom throughout the tasting. And now just a little bit about Tom and Megan. Tom graduated from Lincoln University in New Zealand with a Bachelor of Viticulture and Enology. He's worked at several large and small wineries in California, New Zealand, and Germany. He joined Cline Cellars as assistant winemaker in 2016 and has just recently become the director of winemaking and viticulture overseeing all production from Cline. And Megan graduated from UC Santa Barbara and then completed her certified sommelier training. She works with the winemaking and vineyard teams to showcase the best that Cline has to offer. She's spearheading the Gust brand of wines that she will be presenting tonight. And I would like to sincerely thank Megan and Tom in advance of the tasting, as Megan will close the tasting tonight. So with that, Megan, can you please lead us into our first wine?
Absolutely, and thank you so much, David, for the introduction, and thank you to everyone who helped put this on. We have really been looking forward to this night for a long time. And thank you to all of you for joining us. I can't wait to share our wines with you, and we have an awesome lineup of both Cline wines and the Gust project, which I will tell you about. If you guys want to pour your first wine, which is our 2018 Gust Chardonnay, I can tell you a little bit about the project and then we can jump right into tasting the wine. So as David was saying, you know, Cline was started back in 1982 by my father. I rejoined Cline as part of the family business about 6 years ago. And I kind of always knew, and my sister joined that same year as well, so back in 2015. And we got together, we kind of always knew that we wanted to start our own project as the second generation. Cline had long been known for Zinfandels, and you guys probably all know Cline as a Zinfandel producer and as a producer of really amazing Rhone wines. And we always really gravitated towards the cool climate and the place where we grew up, which was Sonoma, and then more specifically, this place called Petaluma. And we have quite a number of vineyards planted in Petaluma and what is now an area called the Petaluma Gap. And this area is most well known for the wind that comes through every single day at around 2 p.m. And hence the name Gust. We really wanted to create a wine that focuses in on this area and more specifically on really what determines this growing region. So we started Gust back in 2017. Again, always knew we really wanted to spearhead our own project that focused on the 3 varieties that thrive in Sonoma and the Petaluma Gap specifically. So we make a Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Syrah. So we are going to start with the 2018 Chardonnay. And with this wine, we really are looking to, like I said, really highlight the Petaluma Gap and that growing region. The wind does a couple things. It makes the grape skins a little bit thicker, so you get a higher skin to juice ratio. So you get a lot of texture, really great, beautiful concentration in this wine. But it's also a cool growing region. So you have a longer hang time. You get full flavor development while still maintaining this really, really beautiful, juicy acidity that we all love in the wines that really make these super food friendly wines. So on the nose for this one, you're gonna get a lot of citrus. Some lemon curd is on there, and then you get a little bit of brioche as well. And, you know, lots of white florals. It's really a beautiful example of a cool climate Chardonnay and really shows off what the Petaluma Gap can do. So that brioche on there, we do add a little bit of oak to this. This is about 25% new French oak, and it does go through about 75% malolactic fermentation. So we were looking to get a little bit of that reserve style, but really balance it out with that bright acidity, really juicy character that you get out of this wine. Just a little bit of that vanilla toast, but again, beautiful, beautiful concentration. And, you know, drop in the chat what you guys think of the Chardonnay. And Tom, you guys haven't met Tom yet. He's on here somewhere. Tom, would love to hear your thoughts on the wine as well.
Yeah, so I'm Tom. Thanks so much for the introduction, David, and it's so great to be here. Thank you, David and Aaron, for setting this up, and it's amazing to have so many people on the Zoom and enjoying our fantastic wines.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the Chardonnay, Tom?
I love it. It's so drinkable. It's so delicious. It's got great texture. Like you said, all the detail in the nose, the aromatics, the stone fruit and that tropical hints as well. It's just a gorgeous wine to drink, and it's fantastic to go with food, but also to drink by itself. And it's super kind of got that really awesome nuance and kind of that old world style characteristic, that rustic kind of a thing, but still that fresh fruit as well. So it's a really
And
fun drink.
I think really our goal with this wine was to find the perfect balance, and actually all the guest wines, and you'll probably hear me say this a couple times, but I think our goal with all of these wines is to find the perfect balance between old world and new world. So we really want to, yeah, again, highlight those beautiful aromatics, that detail, but get a little bit of that essence of California. I mean, this isn't your classic California Chardonnay by any means. This is no butter bomb, but it definitely says I was grown in California, but I might be from Burgundy. So yeah, this is the first wine. Really beautiful texture, like I said, something that is going to be a constant in all of these wines is highlighting that texture, because that's really where the wind is leaving its mark.
Yeah, no, it's a distinct characteristic, and we grow grapes in fantastic areas. The Petaluma Gap is renowned for its cool climate. Sonoma's known for its Pinot Noir, obviously, and the Russian River is the more famous big brother. But what I like about the Petaluma Gap is you get the juicy fruits of the Russian River, but you get all the nuance and the juiciness and the kind of extra character and texture out of the Petaluma Gap that's more reflective of the old world. And so kind of it's the best of both worlds. And that's reflective of everywhere we grow our grapes.
Yeah, and we got a great question about how it will change as the wine ages. One, I think this Chardonnay is going to age for a really long time just because of that really bright acidity. And so I think what will happen is that you're going to lose some of those more pronounced fruit characters. So you're going to lose a little bit of the more classic California fruit characters. So a little bit of that stone fruit, a little bit of that pineapple is going to fall off, and you're going to get and have a little bit more of that citrus driven Chardonnay.
Yeah, and you'll get some really nice kind of nutty characters as well coming through. The vanilla toast will come through a little bit more as well as it ages, and it'll just get more nuance and more detail and become more interesting as it ages. Yeah, it should age beautifully for the next 5 to 10 years at least.
Yeah, great. And yeah, I'm hazelnut and grapefruit pith. I love that. I think that's a great tasting note. The grapefruit pith especially. I'm going to use that from now on.
We're
And
always looking for tips.
exactly. I know. I love it. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for the nice notes.
Cool.
Great.
Anybody have any questions about the Chardonnay? We're just looking at the chat at the moment. Yeah. If not, I guess we'll move on. Should we move on to the Pinots?
Yeah, no, let's move on to the Pinots. I do see one question. It says, is this available at the LCBO? And it's not at this moment. I know that these wines will be coming within about 8 weeks, I think,
You can only order them through through David and through Aaron. So this is an exclusive offer for these gust wines, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And the alcohol is 14.5% on it. And food pairings for the Chardonnay, I'd love chicken, to be honest. Chicken pasta, like an Alfredo kind of style pasta, would go awesome. You could do fish as well.
I was gonna say fish. I think any fish, and then also fish with like a mango salsa, like a white fish with a mango salsa would be really, really great with this wine. Any sort of seafood, mussels would be really great. And yeah, like you said, pasta, like creamy pasta, that's kind of your traditional Chardonnay pairing, but I think this would go really, really well with that. Chicken pot pie in the oven. Okay, we're coming over. We'll see you soon.
Definitely. I love pies. I'm from New Zealand and I do not get enough pies. So that
Oh, great. All right, should we move on to the Pinots, and this is going to be really, really fun, you guys. We have our Cline Pinot, and then we also have the Gust Pinot Noir. So we'll talk about each of them separately, and then we can really talk about the differences and compare the two, because they are coming out of the same area, but Gust is just a little bit more focused in on one of the the vineyard site. So Tom, I'll have you take it away about on the Cline Pinot, and we can, if you guys want to pour your second glass, second tasting.
Yeah,
and we
it's,
can-
so this is the Cline Pinot Noir, fantastic wine from Sonoma County. It's a blend of grapes most of the grapes come from Petaluma Gap. From vineyards, we've got 3 vineyards there. We get a little bit from the winery where I'm at, which is in Carneros. A little touch goes in there as well. And then we also put some other grapes from kind of a little further afield as well. This has got classic Pinot characteristics. You get cherry, cola, got nice raspberry in there as well. A lot of cola today I'm getting out of it as well. It's really delicious. And we basically fairly easy winemaking. It's all hand harvested, 100% destemmed. Then it goes into closed top fermenters and we pump it over a few times a day. It spends about 10 to 14 days on skins until it goes dry, basically. Once it's dry, so all the sugar is fermented out, we'll then press it in a big bladder press, and then we will age it. We'll inoculate it for malolactic fermentation, and then we'll age it for around about 12 months. This gets aged for. Gets aged in about 40% new oak, French oak, a mixture actually, yeah.
Yeah, it's really delicious. This is probably the Cline wine that I drink most throughout the week. This is like my weekday wine 100%. And I think it goes great with things like pizza, with pasta, I mean, with hamburgers. I think it is such an approachable Pinot Noir, but it really does express what Sonoma is all about.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. It's delicious, easy drinking. We want to make a nice, smooth style of Pinot Noir, so not too many hard edges or anything like that. Very soft, supple tannins, which is Pinot's signature. Nice, bright fruits. Really, really just delicious, easy drinking Pinot.
Yeah, no, really, really great. And just super quick, there was a question from Charlene about the Chardonnay, about if that was our first vintage. So that was actually our second vintage of the Chardonnay. We started in 2017 and then just released this last year. And yeah, so the Pinot, the Cline Pinot is a dry wine for sure. We just got that question. And I think we can go into pouring the Gust Pinot Noir. And I see some of you are already trying them side by side, which is, again, so much fun because these are really, really different wines. So even though this is coming from that same area, the Petaluma Gap, we're very, very lucky at Gust and at Cline that we have amazing vineyards in this area. Over 600 acres planted. And with Gust, our goal was to make the very best high-end, really small production wine that we possibly could. So what we do with Gust is we go through every single block of Pinot that we have at Cline, planted at Cline, and we pick our favorite blocks. We get to pick our favorite clones, our favorite site orientation. We go through a painstaking process to pick our favorite blocks, and then those blocks, we actually dial it in even further, and we pick our favorite rows within those blocks. So that's what we did with this Pinot Noir. We are getting this from 2 separate vineyards, and I think we did about 10 rows in one block, 5 in another, 7 in a different one. And so we took our favorite components, we vinified them separately, and then blended them together to create this really, really reserved style of Pinot Noir. And so this, our inspiration for the Gust Pinot Noir, of course, is Burgundy. Just like our Chardonnay, we're really looking to the old world to kind of emulate some of those flavor profiles that you get from Burgundian Pinot Noir. So with this wine, we are seeing a little bit more of the earthy characteristic compared to the Cline Pinot, which has a little bit more of that fruitiness right on the nose. So with this, you're definitely, the Cline Pinot is my go-to weekday wine. This is definitely more of my special occasion wine. Something that, again, we're just really looking for a lot of elegance, a lot of finesse and detail. So like I said, a lot of earthiness on the nose, emulating those old world Pinot Noirs. But then on the palate, again, with the balance of New World and Old World, you are getting that hint of California Pinot Noir. So you do get some of those crunchy red fruits that you definitely look for in a Pinot. So a lot of cherry, you get the pomegranate, you get some raspberry. It's kind of these muddled strawberries as well. So just a lot of depth of flavor and super big range for this wine. And a wine that I also think is going to age for a very, very long time. Yeah, I almost get some like cherry pit in here as well.
Yeah, I love the tasting notes I'm seeing popping up as well. What somebody said: wild mushroom, tomato leaf, slight balsamic nutmeg, and strawberries, and that's bang on. That's an awesome tasting descriptor. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really
And
nice.
so for the, oh, sorry, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, it's really nice to see the difference between the two wines. The Cline Pinot Noir is so easy drinking. It's very vibrant and very smooth and soft and supple. But then you go to the Gust, and it's so much more detailed, and there's so many more layers to it, and it's just got so much more kind of elegance to it too. And it's just a kind of a really nice, different way to look at Pinot side by side.
Absolutely.
Very similar spots.
Yeah, and you know, we touched on how the Cline Pinot was made. The Gust is made a little bit differently. So Cline is in closed top fermenters. This is all in open top fermenters, and we also did about 5% whole cluster on here. Again, we're looking for like optimal texture, and that 5% really helps just add a little bit more detail, a little bit more of the concentration. And the Cline was aged about 40% new French oak. This saw a little bit more, about 50%. So again, just highlighting the detail on here. But yeah, I do think it's just such a fun tasting to do side by side.
In the audience, which one do people like more or less? You know, do people have? Yeah.
The Gust opens up. Yeah, Cline, nice. Yeah, I think that's great. Amazing.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks for your feedback, guys, as well. I really love all the chat going on. It's really helpful for us as well, because we always love to learn and hear what you think of the wines and get feedback and stuff like that. And we just love sharing our wines. And this is the first time I think we've done this side by side, Megan.
I know. It's so fun. It's great. It's so fun for us too, because we make these wines and, you know, have an end goal in sight, and then to see how different they are, even though they're coming from that same region, is really, really great. Yeah, interesting. Great. What about food for the Gust, Tom? So like, to me, Cline is all about that pizza, that hamburger. It's the weekday wine. It's my go-to absolutely every day of the week. For Gust, what do you think? Like, I mean, because it has more of that earthiness, would you go mushroom? Would you go
love the idea
portobello, like stuffed portobello mushroom?
Stuff. Yeah, the idea of mushrooms and truffles and all those kind of details in there as well. I mean, it's a really versatile wine. That's why Pinot is so fun and so awesome. It's one of my favorite varieties. Just because it's so, you can pair it with so many different things. You've got all the nice fruit there that goes really well. It's got acidity, it's got a touch of tannin, and it's smooth and softness. But also those interesting secondary characteristics, that mushroom, that wild forest floor, the bramble in there and things like that. You just can pair it with so many things. You know, for everything from pizza to hamburgers to, you know, high-end pastas and, you know,
and
like
duck breast on some savory lentils.
Oh yeah, of course.
Just
Duck.
pull that one out of nowhere.
Why do we always think about duck? Duck's my favorite too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and actually, I do want to talk a little bit about the two vineyards that go into the Gust Pinot Noir, and the two different sites, because, you know, we saw in the video, you saw maybe Catapult and Diamond Pile, and those are the two vineyards that we're using for this wine. Catapult is the warmer of the two. It's a little bit higher elevation, so it sits above the fog line, and the fog is really key to the Petaluma Gap. So the fog comes in at night, sits until mid-morning, and then the wind is what comes in at around 2 p.m. and blows all afternoon. So the Catapult Vineyard actually doesn't see a lot of that fog, and it's planted to more California heritage clones, and that's mostly Old Martini clones from Carneros. And those heritage clones tend to give it a little bit more of the fruit that we were talking about that you find in the Gust Pinot Noir. And then the second vineyard, the Diamond Pile, is planted to more of those Dijon clones. So mostly 114 and 115. And we are looking for that. That's where the elegance, the finesse is coming through in this wine. And that's the coolest vineyard site that we have. So that's the most Western. It definitely sits under the fog for quite a long time. And that is really adding more of that brightness and freshness here. Let's see. The Cline Pinot, fully destemmed. I do believe that the Cline Pinot, we don't have any.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And all hand harvested. So both the wines are 100% hand harvested. They're certified sustainable as well. All our vineyards are sustainably certified, California and Sonoma. And then also we have our own method of farming called the green string method of farming. And so we call it beyond organics. So we don't spray any herbicides or any pesticides. We dust with sulfur, and that's all the, fungicides that we use, full stop. So we're really, really keen on being hands off, letting the vineyards do the talking, and trying to be low intervention. And we're more kind of we guide the grapes rather than farm them. And so we let them kind of shine themselves. So, low cropping, and we do more detail work on the gust wines, obviously. We're doing thinning and bunch positioning. We go through and make sure all the clusters are hanging nicely. And then at Cline, we use sheep and goats to help remove leaves and things like that around the clusters during the summer so that we can get more sun on them. So we got a huge array of farming methods that we use to make sure that these wines shine and are awesome.
Yeah, and I think that really is, like you said, our philosophy for both Cline and Gust is really making the wine in the vineyard first, and making sure that we're taking care of the land, and not just our vines, but the greater ecosystem, water, pollution, all of that, making sure that we are preserving green space for the wildlife. So it really is more about the greater ecosystem, our way of farming. And it's been great. I mean, I think it really shows in the wine as well, and the wine quality. Yeah. Oh, and we got a great question about, so the Cline is 2 years younger. How do you think the Gust Pinot is going to age? And really, I think this is a wine that you're going to be able to lay down for quite a while. Again, it has the brightness, the acidity, the wonderful tannin structure, and I think 10 plus years you'll be able to lay this down. I think you're again going to lose more of that fruit character as it ages, but you're going to be left with definitely more of a Burgundian style. It might get a little bit more of the dustiness coming out of this wine.
Yeah, and the tannins are already really super soft and subtle, but what will happen is that those tannins will soften even more, and they'll become sweet and delicious and very smooth and rounded. And that's kind of what we're looking for. Pinot, as it ages, it becomes, even though it's not getting sweeter, it'll taste sweeter, and all that fruit will become sweeter. And it's a really fun thing to see it happen.
Yeah. And thank you guys for all the compliments on the Gust logo. With this, we were really trying to emulate the wind. Again, we really wanted to pay tribute in everything that we did, not just with the wine inside the bottle, but with the branding and the name, obviously. Hope it blows you away. Sorry.
You got to get a wind pun in there.
Yeah, you have to, with the name, you really just have to get wind puns as much as you can. And yeah, so we got a wonderful designer to really pull out some texture on the label and then give it a little bit of motion as well. So thank you guys for that. And we also got a great question about impacts from the fires. And we get this question a lot, and it's something that, it's really unfortunate that this keeps happening in our region. We are very lucky with where we're located that we have not seen any impact from the smoke or the fires. We're far enough away that, and we did all of the testing with all of the grapes, especially this past vintage. We did micro ferments, and we tasted everything. We sent it off to all of the labs just to make sure that we didn't have any smoke taint in our wines. And we got extremely lucky, and all of our wines are clean. And we just hope, that we can have a no fire season this year. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, so we're lucky. Well, I mean, the fires suck, obviously, but most of our vineyards are in the southern part of Sonoma County. And so we weren't as affected. It was still an hour's drive to get to where the fire line was. And so that's quite a distance, talking 40 miles or so. And so by the time we did have a little bit of smoke in our vineyards, but by the time the smoke got to our vineyards, it had basically deteriorated enough where it wasn't affecting the grapes. And so we definitely did a lot. We did a lot of work on it. We learned a lot about fires in the last year and about the impact it has. Australia's done a bunch of research that we've used, and California is quickly catching up on that as well. So it's something that we definitely stay on top of. Smoky wine is not a great thing or a tasty thing at all. So yeah, we've done our due diligence there, and just we're fortunate enough to be situated far enough away from the fires in 2020.
Yeah, and I do think, where we have the majority of our vineyards, which is in the Petaluma Gap, we are so lucky that the wind is such a big presence there because it blows the smoke away. So that is a blessing for sure. But yeah, it's been a rough couple of years in California.
Yeah, it's been fires almost every year. So yeah, but we've been very, very lucky, as I said.
Yeah. Great. Well, okay, this was super fun, and I love Pinot Noir. I feel like we could talk about Pinot forever. But should we jump to Syrah, because I am also a massive Syrah fan. And I think, with Cline's background and our history with Syrah, it is very, very fitting that we are going to be tasting the Cline Syrah and the Gus Syrah side by side. So why don't we talk through the Cline Syrah, and then we can talk a little bit more about our history as the Rhone Rangers, and then talk through the Gus wines as well.
Yeah, so Syrah is a fantastic grape, obviously. It's not as well known, I suppose, as Pinot, but still a delicious, delicious wine. It's from the Rhone region. Our Cline Syrah, we probably get about 2/3 of it from our Catapult Ranch, and then the other part comes from the ranch here. We have Syrah Hill here, which is in Carneros. So a portion from Carneros, a portion from the Petaluma Gap. And just really, really delicious. It's got that really kind of dark purple characteristic. It's got cool bacon fat in there as well. A little bit of pepper, lots and lots of dark berries, boysenberry as well in there. Got great texture, and it's got a really nice smell. You get a little bit of that oak with that bacon fat coming through. Once again, we all the grapes are grown via our organic method. They're all certified sustainable. We hand harvest them first thing in the morning, bring them into the winery, 100% destemmed, and then closed top fermenters again. And we give this one a little bit more action. We leave it on skins for a little bit longer, kind of 14 to 20 days. We give it some more pump overs. We want to extract all of the flavors out of the Syrah. We want to get all of that kind of nice dark bramble characteristics. And then also we're trying to get as much tannin out of it. We want to extract all the tannin, then we want to start to soften it using aeration. So we use aerative pump over methods as well. So we've got these hat things that like spray wine everywhere and get it nice and aerated to make sure that the yeast are nice and healthy. The ferments are about 85 degrees Fahrenheit. And then malolactic, we inoculate from malolactic fermentation, and then we age this. This one only gets aged for about 10 to 12 months a year before we blend and bottle it. So yeah, but really, really lovely fruit, dark berries, really great tannins. I love the bacon fat in here as well.
Yeah, it's a great Syrah, and I'll tell you guys a little bit about my dad's history as a Rhone Ranger. The Rhone Rangers were a group of kind of like-minded vintners, and it was a pretty loose group. They weren't super formal, but they started back in the mid-'80s. My dad at the time was making a lot of Mourvedre and Carignan, and people didn't, and Viognier, and people just didn't really know anything about these varieties. In California, it was Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and Cabernet, and that was pretty much the extent of what people knew. And so he got together with people like Randall Graham and of Bonnie Doon, Bob Lindquist of Coupe, who were also making Rhone varieties, and created this group, the Rhone Rangers. And they promoted and sold and told everyone all about Rhone varieties, including Viognier and Marsanne-Roussanne. And when he moved from the Contra Costa County, where he started Cline, to Sonoma, he planted a number of Rhone varieties. So not just Syrah, but Viognier, like I said, Marsanne-Roussanne, Grenache, Mourvedre. And when he planted the Syrah in Sonoma, specifically in Carneros, Carneros is known as this Pinot and Chardonnay producing region. And more specifically, it was known as a sparkling region. So he was like, oh, I'm coming in, I'm planting this hillside, 17 acres of Syrah. And all of his neighbors told him that he was insane, that the grapes would never ripen, that, you know, he was making a huge, huge mistake. My dad, being the crazy person, but slight genius, I guess, that he is, didn't listen and planted the Syrah. And a couple years later, it went on to win the Harvest Sweepstakes. It was the favorite wine out of all of the wines in this Sonoma County competition. And so he has really been a huge proponent of Syrah. It's also my favorite variety, I think, even more so than Pinot. I am a huge Northern Rhone Syrah lover. And I think that has really been inspiring to me with the Gas Syrah. So I think very similarly to the Pinot, the Cline Syrah is really approachable. It is a little bit more New World in style, where it has those rich, dark berry flavors. And with the Gas Syrah, I tend to get a little bit more of that secondary characteristic on the nose. So a little bit more of that dusty berry, a little bit more of the charcuterie, black pepper, white pepper as well. And then again, on the palate, a little bit more of the California bramble fruit, but just maybe a little bit more tart than the Cline Syrah. And Rob asked what I really like about Syrah, and I have to say, and I know, you know, Pinot is like this too, because there's so many different interpretations of it, but I think with Syrah, also, it's the very first wine that I ever got right in a blind tasting when I was studying for my sommelier exam. So I was doing a blind tasting with some friends, and Syrah 1 is so distinctive. It always has that crushed black pepper note. And it was, the first wine that I got right. It was a Google, like 2013, just Côte du Rhône Syrah. And I just loved it. Again, it's so distinctive. And it's also so tied to our history. So I think that is really what makes me feel so close to this variety. But the Gas Syrah, this is made in closed top fermenters. We did do about 50% New French oak on this, and mostly those barrels are Hermitage barrels. So like I said, we are taking a lot of our inspiration from the Northern Rhone and sticking to this cool climate where you're getting a lot of, I think, you know, the Pinot really is all about elegance, and the Syrah for Gust is really all about that power and strength. And it's definitely a brooding wine. Out of all of them, you know, I think all of these wines can age really, really well, but I think this one is going to be able to age the longest. What do you think, Tom?
Megan, can you hear me? Megan?
Yeah.
Are you following the wine order that we got in the bottles? Because you seem to be doing it in a different order to what are on our little bottles. You seem to be on to the Gus when we should be doing the Cline, and I'm a little confused.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, Tom talked a little bit about the Cline Syrah. But we can definitely, and we were kind of tasting the two Syrahs side by side. I'm so sorry I did not make that more clear, just because it's so fun to try these next to each other because they're so different. But yeah, we can definitely talk a little bit more about the Cline Syrah.
Yeah, so the Cline Syrah is definitely kind of very user-friendly, we call it. It's ready to drink, very opulent, easygoing, super just, delicious. And we try to soften the wine as much as possible. We're not trying to get too much tannin. We're trying to balance that tannin out a lot. And we just want it to be nice and fresh fruits, a little bit of structure and great acid. And just kind of drink early, drink young and enjoy. This is awesome for grilling foods, I think. Grilled meats, barbecue food and stuff like that. This is perfect. A lot of fun to have during summer. Also kind of like with stews as well, like a lamb stew would go great with this, that kind of food.
Yeah, and you know, there was a note or a question about the dryness level of the Syrahs. And they're both dry wines. But I think, yeah, you get a little bit more of the sweetness in the fruit in the Cline Syrah.
Yeah, yeah. So we're, the Gust is definitely bone dry, and the Cline is just dry. So we're trying to balance out the acidity and make it nice and easy drinking with the Cline Syrah, and definitely that's kind of an offset. The Gust Syrah, in my opinion, is just really, really elegantly made. And so even though you've got all that power and that structure and those tannins in there, it's all kind of restrained in this wonderful envelope of acidity and fruit flavors and things like that, all just kind of holding the wine together in a beautiful way that also makes it very elegant, yet also this really kind of powerful wine.
Yeah. Oak treatment on the Gust. Yeah, so the Gust did see about 50% new French oak, whereas the Cline saw about 40, I believe. Is that right? Yeah. And for the Gust Syrah, we really wanted to focus on a classically Northern Rhone Cooper. So we got a lot of Hermitage barrels to again kind of enhance the richness of this wine and really bring out some of those secondary characteristics, a little bit of that char and bacon and cured meat. And I really think it helped soften the tannins a little bit, but like Tom was saying, these tannins are definitely, this is a powerhouse wine for sure. Someone had, I think it was Neil, you had, I think, one of the greatest descriptors. It was, I like that Syrah has an attitude that doesn't mind if it pisses you off at first. He knows you'll come around and become besties. I mean, greatest comment of the night. That is, I think, spot on about Syrah. And yeah, okay, we got Neil's blushing. I love it. Food, so you said a lot of lamb. Definitely, I think lamb is a great choice. Again, I mean, I know I said mushrooms for Pinot, but I might have to switch and say mushrooms for the Syrah and stick with the duck for the Pinot, maybe. Just again,
this could do steak on the barbecue, like a good grilled steak. You've got all that tannin there, and that fattiness from steak will come through really, really well. Yeah, I imagine grilling meats with these wines.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And someone asked about the difference between Syrah and Petite Syrah. They are complete, and Shiraz. Shiraz and Syrah, someone actually had a really good explanation where Shiraz is more of an old or New World style, which is a little bit more fruit forward. It's basically what they call Syrah in Australia. And yeah, definitely more of that sweet blackberry. I mean, I think generally people think about Shiraz and think, oh, sweet Syrah, but there's also some really beautiful interpretations of Shiraz in Australia that I love. But yeah, Petite Syrah is a completely separate variety. I think it's called Darif. That's the name of the variety, and what's it's Syrah and something else, some like bizarrely named other grape variety that is its other parent. But yeah, completely different grape variety, and it is named for its small berries, not because it's the
other grape variety is Peloufsin.
Thank you. Yes, amazing. And yeah, yeah, so completely different. And then Syrah, of course, is Rhone, and then what we call Syrah in California as well. Would love to hear what you guys would pair with it. I see Bison Burger. That sounds amazing. Anything else? And would love to hear your guys' thoughts on the take on the two. Yeah, Neil says if I would have remembered the parentage off the top of my head, he would have been impressed. But I used to be able to. I'm losing it, apparently. But yeah, Great. Yeah, we're getting some good vegetarian chili. Sounds great with the Cline Syrah. Absolutely.
Oh, chili's a good one. Yeah, yeah, that sounds delicious.
Especially with chili is so great because it has such a depth of flavor. You know, you cook it for a long time, you're pulling out all of those different spices and beans, and I think that would go really, really well with Syrah.
Yeah, just watch out for not having too much spice because the spice will definitely get big on you.
Yeah, amazing. All right, what's our next wine, Tom?
The next wine is our Cabernet Sauvignon. So it's the 2018 Cline Cabernet Sauvignon. Yeah, these grapes, we grow a little bit ourselves and then we source them from some growers as well. So 2018 was a really cold vintage. And so it's awesome to make an awesome Cabernet like this. Cold vintages, for me as a winemaker, kind of excite me because they're more challenging and we can hang our grapes out for longer to get more flavor out of them. And they only just kiss the right beginning of ripeness, which means you get this wonderful detail and complexity in the wine. Yeah, 2018. Cabernet is a great variety as well. I love it. I grow it myself. And you get wonderful blackberries and these wonderful blue fruits too. But then we also get those nice kind of dried herb characters, a little bit of black olive in there too. Really cool characteristics like that. So yeah, this wine, about 10% of it comes from Contra Costa. We've got some old vines down there that we farm ourselves. And then the rest of it comes from Alexander Valley in Sonoma. Really, really detailed wine. I love drinking this. 2018, so it's got a year of age on it. Really, really fun. Smooth tannins. We're not trying to make too big a wine. And just really, really elegant Cabernet Sauvignon. You've still got the structure and the power. Sonoma fruit gives all the detail, the complexity, and also the concentration. And then the Contra Costa fruit gives us our richness and our roundness in our wine. So really delicious wine. Yeah. And then this wine was aged for 2 years in barrels. We want to soften it and round it out as well. And then we bottle it. It gets about 50% new French oak as well. And just a really delicious, well-rounded Cabernet Sauvignon and just fun to drink. This is, you're talking grilled meats and barbecues and things like that now. Definitely in that range.
To me, I think my favorite thing about the Cabernet is, well, a couple things, but just in terms of Cline, I was looking through some of our old history and old tasting menus that my dad had. And one of the very first wines that he actually produced in 1982, his very first vintage, was a Cabernet and a Sauvignon Blanc from none other than Temecula. And so I think one, it's a really great callback to our beginnings, and it's a wonderful tie. We have Contra Costa County, which really represents our past. And then we have Sonoma, which is where we are right now and where our future is. So it's a really wonderful bridge. This wine really does mean a lot. And it's just absolutely delicious. Like you said, great with grilled meats, great with steak, anything that has a little bit more of that marbling. I think this is just a killer pairing for that.
Yeah, and it's really cool to bring those two counties together. Contra Costa is old plantings. It's warmer out there, so it's great for Cabernet Sauvignon. That's going to lead into the last wine, the Live Oak Zinfandel. But it's just a really cool spot. It's sandy soils. They're own rooted. They're dry farmed. It's really warm. You get the reflected heat from the white sand as well. And it just kind of hangs the perfect crops out there because the vines are so old. We don't need to do too much to them. They're kind of naturally looking after themselves. And, we're just more kind of stewards of the grapevines and stewards of the land. I also want to bring up, Cline, we've got a great philosophy, a wine for every table. And, you kind of seen a little bit of the range here. You got Chardonnay at the beginning. Now we're into Cabernet Sauvignon and just a huge range of wines. Fantastic flavors as well. This cab is really, really great during winter. I like it for Christmas as well. Christmas is great to have cab, and it's just a really cool. This is our first vintage of making cab as well.
And there's a great question about the differences between Napa and Sonoma Cabernet, and I would love your take on this, Tom, because you're such a cab guy.
Yeah, so I think, with climate change, I believe that Sonoma is going to become the new home for cab and Napa is going to get too hot. But Napa is definitely we were talking, I suppose, Shiraz and Syrah is kind of interesting. I would call like Napa as the Shiraz version of Cabernet Sauvignon. It's big, it's rich, it's round, it's high alcohol, it's very extracted, it's a little bit sweet and rich and unctuous. And then Sonoma is kind of the Syrah version, where it's a little bit less ripe. You get a little more detail, you get a little more nuance in there as well, and you get some of those really kind of interesting highlighted detail characteristics. You get some of the floral characteristics, like sometimes you get some lavender and rosemary coming out of it. You get the dried herbs and stuff, and it's just you get a fantastic Cabernet, and it really depends on kind of what you like. If you like that big alcoholic style, stick to Napa with high oak and things like that. If you want a little bit more detail, more nuance, more elegance to it, Sonoma Cab is going to do you really, really well. So.
Yeah, and would you say the Sonoma part of this Cabernet is where you're getting more of that like herbaceousness coming through?
Yeah, definitely. In Contra Costa, it's really hot. So we pick the difference between picking in Contra Costa is about 3 weeks. We pick 3 weeks earlier in Contra Costa than we do in Sonoma, for example. It's just a lot warmer. It's a lot more growing degree days is the technical term we use for how much heat there is in the year. And it's just hot out there. And so but that also softens the wine as well and gives us nice smooth tannin structure and kind of makes it a much more elegant wine, because sometimes because it's so cold in Sonoma County and in a vintage like 2018, you can have some aggressive tannins in that wine. So it's nice to kind of blend the two and get this nice, soft, elegant wine out of it. Getting the best of both worlds, yeah.
Great. Any questions on the cab? Or any of the wines in general? Yeah, feel free to use that chat box.
It's kind of weird as well. I suppose we should talk a little bit about Sonoma. Sonoma County is really, really large. We're down here in the southern part of Sonoma County, in Carneros and Petaluma Gap, which is literally the southern part. It's, we butt up to the San Francisco Bay and parts of the county. You can see the city of San Francisco from where we are. So we're on the very southern tip of it, which is is quite cold because you've got all those coastal influences and you've got the Bay Area influence as well. The top of, about halfway up Sonoma County is Alexander Valley, and it's inland. So it's behind a couple of mountain ranges. So it's warmer. So we can go grow Cabernet Sauvignon out there. And then if you go east of the Bay, east of San Francisco, that's where you find Contra Costa. And it's right on the San Joaquin River and the Sacramento River where they meet. And it's really hot out there. You're starting to get into the Central Valley. And so there's a lot more heat there. So, as you come further from the coast, it gets warmer in California.
Yeah, and like you said, Sonoma is huge. It's crazy that it's one county, and it could be basically its own country with all of the different microclimates and the different growing regions. I mean, you have Russian River and Petaluma Gap, you have Freestone, it's crazy, the diverse growing regions and different soil types, and Sonoma Valley and Moon Mountain compared to Alexander Valley. I mean, they're just two completely different growing regions.
Yeah, but it's a lot of fun to work with so many great vineyards and such great grape growers as well, and to be able to grow a huge majority ourselves. And it's fun. I was just thinking about harvest and spending the mornings out in the vineyards, checking on all the grapes and stuff like that. And it's just really amazing to work out in a place like this.
Yeah, and there's a question, Tom, about how long the cab will age.
I would say, it's Cabernet Sauvignon. It ages so well. There's a bunch of fruit in there as well that I really, really like. And because with the cooler vintage of 18, you do have a little bit more structure in there. And so it should age for a good long time. You've still got kind of a little bit of grip to that tannin. It's softened and mellowed out at just barely a touch with our extra oak with our extra barrel aging as well. But I would say 10 years happily. 10 years, which should be great. With that kind of, that little bit of structure, that little bit of dried herb and stuff. I'd look forward to this kind of softening and sweetening up. In 10 years, it should be showing really fantastically. Yeah, I think it would probably peak in 10 years is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Awesome. Great. Yeah, looks like a lot of people love the cab. I mean, it's such a delicious wine, super approachable. Like you said, great drinking now, but we'll be able to age for quite a while.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to do in the winery with our Cline wines as well. We want them to be super approachable and super drinkable now, but also we don't want to sacrifice too much of the ageability of these wines as well.
Yeah. Great. Should we move on to the last wine of the night? I'm really excited to try this wine with all of you guys, because again, this is coming from Contra Costa County. It's where Cline started. Tom, and you saw a little bit of this in the video as well. Tom was talking about the vineyards out there. They're incredible. And these are some of the oldest vines in California, 100+ year old vineyards, really gnarly, all in sandy soil, just absolutely delicious. And I was saying earlier, Cline is really known for our Zinfandel. We make 8 different Zinfandels at Cline, and this one is such a stunner. It's one of our single vineyards. So Tom, would love to have you take it away.
Yeah, so this is our Live Oak Zinfandel. So this is from, it's the vineyard is on the road called Live Oak, and it's the McKitty vineyard, a gorgeous old vineyard, 60 years old. So it's not as old as some of our vineyards, but what we like about this is it's a little bit inland, and it gets really, really hot here. So we make this big classic California style Zinfandel where we're trying to get it really, really ripe. We don't want to dehydrate the grapes, but definitely we're starting to see they're on the upper end of the ripeness scale. For example, I mean, we try to pick most of our wines at kind of like 24 bricks, which translates to around about 14% alcohol. This wine, we're happy to pick at like 26 bricks, 27 bricks, which is really, really cool. You get that really nice kind of bright, vibrant, like almost strawberry jam, raspberry jam characteristics in there. Plenty of fruit. It really jumps out of the glass at you. Yeah, so it's all hand harvested, all unrooted, all dry farmed. Really, really cool block of grapes. This is picked normally in August, kind of towards the end of August, the last week of August typically. And we bring it in. It's pretty, we do, this is actually one of our more, probably spends the most time on skins out of all of our wines as well, because it never wants to go dry. It's because we're picking it so ripe, it's really sluggish, the fermentation cycle on it. So this can spend up to 4 weeks on skins, which is a really, really long time. But we want to leave it on skins until we get dryness from it. Then we press it, and then yeah, it goes to barrel for aging. We age it for about 15 months in 40% new French oak. Yeah, I really, really love the bright fruit flavors. This is one of our favorite Zinfandels that we make. Really, really great, delicious fruit. Raspberries, strawberries.
We're
Yeah.
getting a lot of comments of people saying they get like a minty, menthol, and Conru called it out. They said eucalyptus, so they get a little bit of that minty character. That is one of our signature flavor profiles in some of our Zinfandels from Contra Costa. There is some eucalyptus trees out there, and it adds a really good herbaceous character to this wine.
Yeah, it doesn't take much eucalyptus to change the character of a wine, just a touch. And Australian wines are renowned for it. And there are stands of eucalypts all throughout Oakley, well, Contra Costa, where these grapes come from. So that eucalypt, in different vintages, it comes and goes depending on the amount of eucalypt in there. But just a really cool signature there. Yeah, and obviously Australian wines are renowned for it. And there's eucalypt stands all throughout California.
Yeah, and okay, Zin pairing. I don't know, it's hard. I feel like we've covered a lot of different food groups tonight, but I would say barbecue, again, something with barbecue sauce that has that like tangy sweetness would go really, really well with, so maybe like barbecue ribs, I think would go great with this.
Margarita pizza. Margarita pizza. That zestiness from the tomato-based sauce with that little bit of fat from the mozzarella, that touch of that basil will also highlight some of those minty characteristics and really add depth to the wine. I would love, like a really nice thin crust pizza.
Yeah. What do you know what the RS is on this, Tom, off the top of your head?
Yeah, this is around about 0.6% RS, so about 6 liter is the technical term. So yeah.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, Neil guessed 8, so he was close.
Yeah, and we're trying to make this, we don't want to make a sweet wine, but we want it to taste sweet, if you know what I mean. So we want that jamminess, that richness, all those smooth, supple tannins. By leaving it on skins for that extended amount of time, those 4 weeks, you do soften those tannins and they become richer and rounder. And we just want to make a nice kind of California, big, ripe Zinfandel bomb, so to speak. So, the booze is on the higher side for this wine, and we're quite happy about that. That's something we kind of lean into and we like, and it differentiates it from some other Zinfandels we make.
Absolutely. We're getting a lot of like peppery notes. I get that as well. Barbecue burgers with fruit compotes. Yum.
Wow, that sounds delicious. I might have to, yeah. I've got some mango salsa at home. That sounds pretty good for dinner.
There you go. It's like the straw of California Zins. I love Neil with the one-liners tonight. He's the superstar. Yeah, no, I think, like I said, we make 7 different Zinfandels, and this is one that we are super proud of. One of our single vineyards. I think someone asked about the vine age. Do you know exactly when the live oak vineyard was planted, Tom? I think it was like.
You're a 60-year-old one. The Marquette vineyard which used to go into which used to be a portion. We had 2 vineyards on Live Oak Road. The Marquette vineyard unfortunately got pulled out. So the problem with Contra Costa, and it's a big problem, is that it's now suburbia basically. So we've got these pockets of grapevines around suburban sprawl going all around it. So you're driving down, a two-lane, one-lane, one-way street, and there's houses all around, and then there's suddenly this pocket of vineyard in there, and so you're sampling around. So you're literally driving around suburbia in your truck with your buckets, trying to figure out when to pick these grapes and trying to find these vineyards and these cul-de-sacs and stuff like that. And so the problem is, grapes are great to grow and stuff like that, but we can't compete with the price of suburban development.
Yeah.
Over time, more and more of these vineyards are going to get pulled out and converted to housing, which is really, really sad. So it's great that we own a lot of the grapes, and we've been buying them for a long time, and we work with a great grower who's been with our great vineyard manager down there, who's been looking after all these grapevines. But we're gonna be making less and less of these wines, unfortunately, in the future, just as things change. It's kind of crazy out there. It's not like Sonoma. It's literally suburbia with vineyards.
Yeah, no, it's definitely otherworldly, I think. And someone asked if we still make Big Break Zinfandel, and we do. That is probably our wine, along with our Small Berry Morvet, that has the most eucalyptus character, that really signature eucalypt minty character of all of our wines. But yeah, we definitely still make it. That's one of the vineyards that we own. And Tom, I think you did talk about this a little bit, but I think what's also unique about Contra Costa is that even though it is this hot growing region, because it's right next to the Delta, it actually has a pretty big diurnal shift. So it's hot during the day and then it's cool at night. And I think that's why you're able to get such expressive, really beautiful wines coming out of that region.
Yeah, definitely. I'd agree with that completely. What happens is the river actually pulls in all the cold air from the Bay Area. And so you do get a little bit of fog in the morning in there as well. And so it's a really cool spot, especially with you've got no cover crops. You lose a lot of the heat during the night as well. So it's just a really kind of interesting little spot there. Great for growing grapes. It makes really rich, plush, very classically California styled wines. So it's really kind of cool to showcase that stuff off.
Yeah, and there's a question about if we make sparkling wines, and we do make a sparkling wine. It's called Nancy's Cuvée. It's a blend of Pinot and Chardonnay. We figured, because we're in Carneros, which is key, home to so many sparkling wines, really known for sparkling wines, that we should pay tribute to that. So all of the fruit is coming from our Carneros estate vineyard, but we don't make a whole lot of it. So most of that is just sold at the winery.
Yeah, I think we only make 600 to 1,000 cases a year. So yeah, it's one of our first picks. It's fun stuff to make. It's really fun to drink as well, especially at Christmas time.
You love drinking at Christmas time.
Don't we all?
Absolutely. Oh, great. Well, okay, I would love to hear from all of you guys. Drop in the chat what your favorite wine it was from the whole tasting. And Tom, what was your favorite wine?
It's hard to say. I really love them all. I actually really enjoyed the comparisons. I loved the Pinot side by side and the Syrah side by side.
Yeah.
That's the first time we've done that actually ourselves. So kind of really cool to see the differences of them. Just to see the nuances and the real detail and gust, but also like the fully drinkability of the Cline wines. So that's really cool. I'm a Pinot sucker, so I gotta say the Pinots.
Yeah. What about you, Aaron? Mute.
I'm a huge Pinot fan, so I love both Pinots. I have to say though, you know what? The Zin was it just stood out for me because I'll be honest, I'm not usually a Zin fan, and I love the balance on it. And those minty menthol notes were amazing. Yeah. I thought the balance was really good for the alcohol too. I thought it was, yeah,
Yeah.
I guess for me, that was my surprise one. So that was the one that.
Good. Yeah. Well, and someone said, why just choose one? And I think that's probably the right answer. Yeah, all of them. With that, we have 3 wines that are available right now. That's the Cline Pinot Noir, the Cline Syrah, and the Cline Cabernet. The rest of the wines are available for private order, and they should be in Canada in about 8 weeks. But I would say my favorite probably, and I think I'm very biased because this is my project, but I love the Gust Pinot Noir. To me, it just screams old world Burgundy, and it's just tasting delicious right now. What about you, David?
I chatted right there, so I'm kind of with you.
Oh.
I like the Gust Pinot, and I really like the Zin.
Oh, good.
I haven't had a really good Zin in years, I would say, and that was exceptional.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you. Awesome.
It's fun to try wines like side by side like this as well, and like in a tasting, and kind of really kind of show our wares as well, because we do make a huge range of wines. I mean, how many wines do we make now, Megan? We're up to like 60 or something like that.
We make quite a few wines.
It keeps us really busy, put it that way. But it's a good problem to have. It's a good busy. And it's boring around here. And it's always fun to taste wines and get such great feedback. And we're gonna be stealing some of your tasting notes.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah. And honestly, I have to say thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. This is really, it really has been the silver lining of COVID, is to be able to connect with people virtually. I absolutely love it. We've been doing these virtual tastings monthly at Cline, and it's just a wonderful way to connect. And please, you know, if you guys can make it out to California, please do give us a visit. We would love to see you. And yeah, great. Yeah, thank you guys all.
We need to get vaccinated.
Yes, yes. Great, you guys. Yeah, thank you. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. This really made my day. It was the perfect way to spend my Thursday.
Yeah, huge thanks to Megan and Tom for doing this. Yeah, really appreciate it. Great input on the wines.
This dude.
Everything
This
was
is
great.
Is that the Neil guy?
Needs a haircut.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Yeah.
And
thank
thank
you.
Guys, this was absolutely.
Oh,
Thank
put it
you.
on camera. We can see
Great evening.
Great, thank you.
this.
Thank you. California wines are my favorite.
I like that guy.
Thanks so much.
Oh, say thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Guys, learned a lot. Excellent.
Thanks so much, Megan. That was outstanding.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Enjoyed it very much. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks all. Have a wonderful evening.
Enjoy the sun, Tom.
I will enjoy the sun. Yeah.
We're so jealous.
Computer. I think it was about
Thank you.
50 degrees here today.
We loved it.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for enjoying our wines, everybody.
Thanks from Florida.
Oh, hey.
You did ship us the wine, Megan.
Oh, good. I'm glad it got.
Florida.
Yes, I know. I'm glad it got there.
Yeah, so are we.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Bye, you
Thanks
too.
so much, guys. That was great fun. Good night.
Great. Have a great night. Now I need to figure out what I'm going to eat for dinner because I got some great ideas.
That's some great ideas. I mean, everyone's tasting notes as well. Fantastic. That was fun. That was good.
That was really good.
Thanks so much.
Thank you guys so much for putting this together.
Thank Aaron. Yeah. Cheers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
we'll have to do it
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, for sure. It was great response. So we're super happy. So
Yeah. I don't want to leave. It's people. I know. This-
I just want to make sure everybody was doing. I didn't want to miss anybody
I
out.
want it to be over.
This is how I feel. I love it. I'm like, people, let's talk, let's hang out.
Well, there's been so little connection, in the last year relative,
I know.
It's, I think it takes a toll on people. I really do.
Yeah.
I
How
think-
are you? Are you guys pretty closed up still?
Oh, this
Yeah.
is the worst
Yeah.
we've been in 13 months or 14 months.
Oh no.
Yeah, we're in the what they call the third wave of all the variants, and they've closed all the schools. And
Oh, geez. I'm sorry to hear that.
I mean, it's easy to criticize things should have been done differently, but they probably should have been sooner. But we got to get through it because people are going to start to go stark raving mad.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm so sorry that you guys are closed down again. It seems like we're slowly getting back to normal in California.
Well, don't you have a date somewhere in June?
June
What is this? June 15th. Yeah.
All the restrictions are going to be lifted on June 15th. And, the majority of people are getting vaccinated, and yeah, it seems like it's starting to get back to normal, but
Yeah.
My niece is at Caltech,
Mhm.
and she's been vaccinated. She's had both shots like a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got most of our teams vaccinated now as well. And so it's, we definitely feel like we're getting a little bit back to normal. I think people are going to wear their masks for a while, though. I think that's just kind of polite. So
I think it's a habit that is a good habit to keep.
Yeah. Hey, Neil has a great idea, library tasting next time, and I love it. Maybe we could get Fred on here as well. That would be really, really fun to get.
That
him.
would be cool.
Yeah.
You think you would?
I'm sure we should.
it's a nice collection there.
Okay, well, maybe in the fall or something, or in the winter or something like that, just to present something a little bit different. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
now the library wines, you don't have any to sell, do you?
Not that I know of. I mean, we have a library, but we could talk. We could see what we could do.
Do some deals.
Yeah, we could definitely see.
Maybe we
So we'll
should just
take a
hold an
look.
auction. We'll just hold an online auction.
That is fun.
Or you know what? If you're talking about library, like maybe have current and then an older, and then compare, and that way you can even try and sell the current, but then show them what's happening. Because so many people were asking about age
How
worthiness
it
of
is,
wine.
yeah.
So it'd be kind of fun to say, oh, this is what some of these wines taste like 10 years down or whatever.
Right.
That'd be really
Right.
cool. That's a good idea. I like that.
Mixed vintage 6-packs.
Love it.
So Neil has had his nose in that glass, I think, almost the entire evening,
Impressive. And it's impressive how he was doing that and able to type too.
and able to chat at the same time.
Yeah, wow. That's multifaceted right there.
Yeah.
Someone who can multitask. I like it. Oh, hey,
Okay,
there-
Okay.
I'm gonna
I
sign
haven't
off.
really
Thank you
been
again.
stuck, David.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, David.
I think it went really well. So thank you again.
Yeah,
Yeah, thanks so much for
you.
setting it all up.
Yeah.
It's awesome to be part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your time is much appreciated.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, good night, everyone.
We'll catch you next time,
Great to
guys.
see you.
Thanks,
Okay.
guys. Have a great night.
Have a great rest of your
Yeah,
evening.
you too. Bye, all.